Hi, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and what it gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 114 today, and we are excited to show some of the things we were able to get done this week, and some of the things that we are still working on, and
making decisions about.
Yes. There might be a conversation here because for mood crafters like me, I struggle with sometimes being able to commit to a project, not based off the fact I don't want to do the project, but how I want to do it. And then I get stuck. And instead of getting stuck this time, because it's a gift for somebody, I'm trying to find a way to be able to push through it and navigate it and
make it a different way.
Yeah, if it's just the fact that I'm getting stuck on something about it, then change that something about it so that I can continue on.
Yeah.
And so I'm also excited about possibly having figured out one of my abilities to have a comeback project. I've been noticing that this is kind of common, like a favorite pattern that people go back to because they like to do it over and over again. Because I saw another crafter that was talking about one of her favorite projects that she likes to make, and she can time herself and she can get it done like within 50 minutes or something like that, and she'll be like, and so she's like, it's fun, I like making this. And I was like, okay, so this is kind of like a thing where it's like you enjoy making this one thing, and it's not just because you're just sitting here just being mindless about making the same thing over and over again, but it's because it's like it comes natural.
Yeah.
And so
there's something about it that clicks with you.
Yeah, so I'm navigating that with me and myself, and I'm kind of excited. So, yes. To you.
Yes.
While I go get a tissue.
Well, I did finish the lap blanket. And I'm going to show it to you. And this is done in two strands of yarn. One is a 4-ply solid and the other one is a 3-ply mandala, and I used a 10mm hook, and I used the moss stitch, MOSS, and it is so pretty how the mandala just keeps ombreing all the way through. And like I said, it's just a lap blanket. It's not very wide. Let's see. Oh, wrong way. It's not very wide. It's just
it's just enough.
It's enough to go over your lap and
in
then
a chair comfortably.
Yeah.
It's not too bulky, but it's gonna be able to have enough of a width to be able to still span your lap without exceeding,
go down to your feet.
And go down to your feet without exceeding any more of that room.
And I used it right down to where I barely had anything left of the salad. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing left of the mandala. Now, my daughter-in-law did ask me to make some Afghans for a benefit. Mm-hmm. So I went into my stash and I started pulling out blues and yellows. And they were whole skeins, so I just started winding them up, and that was the first night. The second night was, okay, what stitch and, whatever. And so I am doing two strands again with a half double crochet, 10mm hook, my favorite stitch and hook. And I did 151 chains, so when I come back it's only 150, but it does cover, because of my gauge, it does cover a queen size bed and have overlay. So I started out with the dark blues and the lightest yellow, and so right now all I have is this. Then I went up to the next blue that I had was called denim. I had two skeins of that, and I just kind of rolled them all into one big ball. I was still on the same yellow, but now the yellow has changed. So it's quite long. Now this is doubled up. I have this doubled up. So it is quite long, 150 stitches across. And it's going to take quite a bit of yarn, but it's going to be beautiful when it's done. And I've got all different varying shades of blue and shades of yellow. And as the blues get lighter and lighter, the yellows are going to get darker and darker.
Yeah, right.
So
so the two colors that you paired together are going to go in the opposite direction.
Yes.
As they travel the blanket.
Yes.
And their shades.
Yes. So it's just it's
I
crossing.
think that's really clever.
And so that's what I'm working on for the benefit. And I do a little bit each night, and as you do it, it grows and grows, and it'll be nice. It's starting to get cold here in Michigan, so I've got my project where it's going to start covering me as I'm sitting there doing it, and I won't have to have another blanket on because I'm already working on one. So we don't have our wood stove going yet, but my husband said this morning he thinks it's almost time to start that wood stove back up, because a couple weeks ago it was in the 80s, and it is downright cold at night now, in the 30s and 40s. So we're getting down there where it's the chill's killing off the plants and making the leaves turn and all that good stuff for fall. But it makes it chilly at night when you're sitting in your chair doing stuff. It's like, ooh, my legs are getting a little cold. I'm going to need a blanket on. So that's where we are. And what have you decided?
Okay, so she's referring to a couple of things. So last week I mentioned that the poncho that I made for my son, we were debating on whether to put a hood on it. And I brought it up to Caniel today, where I was like, okay, I can make you a hood, or I can make you a hat. Because here's the thing, he's been wearing it a lot when he goes outside, and it's really convenient that if he kind of is already wearing a hoodie and I just want something a bit heavier on him, I can still pull the hood through.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be too bulky, but like if I just get him a hat, then he has the ability that in outfits where he doesn't already have the hood, he still can have a head covering without it completely taking up the point of the project. Yeah. So I think we're going to keep it as it is, and I'm going to rip out what I had of the hood already built and possibly look up patterns that I will debate about making him and possibly my daughter a very fun hat for the winter in the colder months. You want to rip it out? Okay. Sorry. Another thing, before I forget, your blanket. I was watching a lady. She decided that she was going to commit to making a king-size blanket.
Ooh, wow.
Yes.
There's a commitment.
Right. Very big commitment. And she brought that project everywhere with her.
Oh, yeah.
She was in the car line waiting for the kids to come out of school, kind of like the car caravan, waiting for the kids to walk out and get his car. Whether she was just in the middle of just anything. Like, she had that bag that had that in there, but she had it very specifically set where it was always in like a roll, where it was always rolling on itself. So she had both ends in a very specific fashion of always being in a very specific turn, so that as she worked on it, she would just turn and adjust and adjust and adjust, so she could keep working on it without it having to be flat all the time. Yeah. And I found that she's like, it just is what made it easier. And I'm like, well, no duh. But like, I wasn't trying to mean that, like, but it's like, that was very interesting. Something that you don't see if you don't make blankets a lot is the techniques that have to be made to manage something of that scale.
When you're bringing it out of the house.
Oh, yeah. And even when she was just in the house and she just didn't want everyone on it, she'd have it in her lap where it was just a big jelly roll, and she'd be crocheting on the roll, and it was just interesting. She ended up having to let go of that project though. The video had a really sad turn because her puppy decided to chew on it.
Oh,
and
gosh,
she was
all that work.
Yeah, she was probably like, I don't know, just about a fifth.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, it was like a sixth to a fifth into it,
gosh.
and yeah, the puppy really liked it, and she left it alone.
Oh.
And so I think about that. Like, I'm very lucky that the cats that I have don't have a habit of really getting into my stuff. Like, if I'm working on something and they get excited seeing the active yarn being pulled, they might come up and bat that. But in reality, that's as much as they do.
Right.
And if we ever get a dog, I know that that's going to be different. I'm going to have to commit to much more measures to make sure that my projects are left alone.
Yeah.
And that's not just like, I recognize training, but I also recognize the natural curiosity of an animal that senses something that could be fun to chew.
You're having fun. I want to have fun.
Yeah,
too.
It is what it is. But so saying that much, I am leaving alone the hood, the poncho. Possibly going to make some fun hats for the kids. It's getting warmer, colder. It'll be fun for them to have it, and I can get my beanies back because I love my general black beanie. I wear them all the time, and I have a bunch of them, and both of my kids have been have taken, like, I'll be like, oh, I don't have a hat, so here, just take my beanie. Well, recently, that's been in their pile of stuff. Like, I'll have to have that beanie on top of his poncho right by the door, or Olivia has one of my ponchos right now at school because, well, I need a hat.
Her poncho?
Sorry.
Beanie.
A beanie, one of my beanies with her at school because she wanted a mommy hat with her because Caniel had a mommy hat and I didn't even get a mommy hat this morning. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things. So yeah, if I make them a hat, a fun one, I saw some fun patterns, so I thought maybe we'll take a look. But to get back to some of the other whips that I was in the middle of last week that I finished that knot pillow, and I love this project. Now, it was meant to be one continuous color, and I chose to break it up in thirds because of the design of the pillow.
And I think it's really clever the way you did it.
Well, it makes it so you can see it better.
Yeah.
But this is what it looks like.
So exciting. Isn't that cool? I think it's great.
I love this thing. Is this perfect? No. And I'm not saying that as like the creator's always going to see the flaws. No, what I'm saying is, like, I didn't follow a pattern. I knew generally what I needed to do. Like I do. I kind of see a pattern. I have actually tried to attempt this pattern before with some velvet yarn. By the way, would be a variation of this. But they were like, do it at this type of yarn, this weight, this hook size, this many chains, this stitch, and the round until it reaches this amount of measurements, right? Because and stuff as you go. And I lost momentum at that one, but this one was kind of like I'm just gonna make it the size that I feel like would be comfortable for the tube.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep going until I know it's done. Now, the only issue with that is that, did I make it long enough? Yes, but did I equal that out between the three thirds? No, and that's the problem because I didn't realize that it wasn't going to be equal until the end when I had to compensate and have the two colors that were going to be joined for the ends had to be extended to be able to make it work, right? So that's why some of this looks tighter than the other sides because the orange is tighter than the white and the blue because they were at the mid. I was in the middle. I couldn't add to that.
Right.
So if I make this a pattern that I replicate and I do it in my way, because I think it would be fun to get like blanket yarn and that eyelet yarn and the some really fun textured yarn and do it in thirds where it's like a red and pink and white, where it's like it kind of looks like Valentine's, or like, I don't know. I feel like this would be a really cool accent teenager pillow where it's like if it was like 3 different types of textured yarns.
Yeah.
Complementing each other in one work. This will be a way to experiment with textures of yarn working with each other because of how you can split it. Another thing that was a mistake was that one of the yarns, so you can kind of see it, you can kind of see the white of the stuffing on the inside. This weight of 4-ply was not as thick of a weight as the rest of it, and so you can see, yeah, you can kind of see the stitches were stretched out a bit and you can kind of see the inside. So I don't know how this one's going to sell. But if I do it for whenever I possibly do a art fair, but I really like this pillow and I knew I would when I saw the design, but I just had to commit to getting it done. And after doing this variation of it where I do it in one continuous strand, 2 things I have learned. 1, if I were to do it again in a continuous stranded work like this, I would want to know what my sections were for my thirds, especially if I'm choosing to continue to do it where it's going to be like this, where it's like each section has its own
Part of the hat.
Part. And I would crochet that tube of that third on its own and not join it until the very end.
There you go.
Because that way, first off, you're not having this long strand, this long tube that you're trying to be able to make sure is not getting everywhere.
You're right.
On the floor, trying to have it, run itself into a basket or making it into a knot as you go because it's just a nightmare. Or you just do those thirds, or even if you want to do it in one continuous yarn loop, you can break it up where you kind of stop the work and just start again so that you're not, even if it's one color, that really is not that big of a deal if the length of it is hard to manage. You can still store what you've gotten done and keep going again with a new start and just sew it together whenever you're ready to make it one continuous knot if you want to choose to do the knot this way. But I also know a second way, which is my second point. You could potentially, instead of making this one continuous knot, so it's the third join where they would have to be separated. So I could make 3, like these oranges, 1, 2, 3, where I knew what size this ring was, and I made it and I joined it. And I do the same for the other 2 and have 3 rings ready. Oh. Do the white, so to speak, and do it the same where it's one continuous ring all the way around. And it's not going to be until it's the blue where I'm going to have to make sure that they're not fully attached yet. Right. Because I would have to join these have the orange encircle the blue, the white, and then I have to have the blue lock in the orange. And so if I was just locking it in, then I can just rotate it so that the join part is underneath one of the knotted sections, and it doesn't require this understanding of how this knot works in one continuous go. I can just have made rings that I would just know when to join, and then it's not some of these kind of harder tucks and turns of the knot. It's not something you're constantly warring with to make it look like it's a little bit more laying flat. You could just make it so that it is just rings joining, because that's what the knot's supposed to look like. But when you're doing it in one continuous go, there's going to be those bumps where it's switching directions, and so I'm playing around with it because this is fun. And this kind of is like one of those, like, I love making amigurumis, but I love making pillows too, and it feels like practical art. Yeah. Most of the time with pillows, you can get away with it. Even in the more conservative household. It can be decorative, a decorative form of practical furniture or lounge cushion or whatever, because it's everyone normally has a pillow on their couch or a pillow on their bed or on their chair. And if you just want to have a flair where it's just a different shape or has a little bit more spunky, I feel like this is going to be a fun way of me exercising my creative power.
Especially with
that sounded funny.
Dealing with colors and or textures or whatever.
Right. Well, I'm not saying creative power in a weird way. I'm just saying, like, it gives me room to be creative. I feel like I am making something that's not just you have to already appreciate it to want to buy it, like a toy.
Right.
Or it's like unless you have a kid or unless you know what the toy is or what the character is supposed to be, you might not be interested in buying that.
Right.
Whereas this is kind of fun. Like, you could just throw this on your front, if like you have a, I don't know, like
a porch swing.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's fun. My kids have been wanting to play with this because it's a ball. In their head, it's like, Mommy, can I play with the ball that you made? Is this one mine? Both of my kids. So did you make that one for me? That has been a common question. I'm like, listen, we can buy colors that are just for you and just for your brother, or, just for you and just for your sister, and we can make you one. And I said, but this one's one that either Mommy's going to learn from or she's going to hopefully still be able to sell. Yeah. But I think it's fun. And so regarding that, I showed you guys last week that I found that Christmas yarn, right? I did share that yarn that I bought. I think I had bought it already.
I don't know if you showed the Christmas yarn or not.
Okay, well, this was from Red Heart. It's an variegated. Mm-hmm. That goes between larger sections of green and red with smaller sections of white protruding. Reason why I know that? 2 reasons.
Because when you start using it...
Well, just give me a sec. Come on. No! Had stuff in a bag and I didn't realize that it got wrapped up on itself. Get out of here. Oh, I don't know. Did I bring... I didn't. So I was going to share with you a tip.
Oh, yeah.
I left the ball of yarn that I was using the clip on. I'll show you next week. Someone will remind me. All right. This was a Red Heart yarn, and I got inspired because I've been thinking of a lot of Christmas projects that I want to make, right? So I've been really inspired, but I instantly trying to make the Christmas projects, but having just come off of making this, I was like, nope, I'm stopping what I'm doing to make another one of these pillows. And so I've already started using this yarn. Look at it turn.
Oh, that is so cool. It looks like a candy cane.
I know. It's so much fun.
Wow.
So because of the amount of stitches I did and going into the round, it's perfectly curving at a continuous rate. And I have been enjoying how this yarn's playing and being making this. And I'm going to be making one of the knot pillows with this yarn. I don't know if it's going to be with just this yarn totally alone. I think I will pair it with white. Because I was thinking that what I could do is I could do it where, like, it doesn't have to be 3 strands locked together. It can be 2 strands locked together 3 times. So I could do it with this, with a white with a green, and white with a red.
Yeah.
So it complements this one. I don't know. So I'm in the process of really getting excited about this pillow idea. That really might be one of my next stages of what I'm doing actively with my craft and my hobby. That might be something fun that I can kind of be more committed to, because I love making art grooming. I love making pillows and fun things. But it's one of those, like, I want to have, and I'm not saying I want to just be stuck making this pillow over and over and over again, but it's like, if this kind of gets the creative juices going, where it's like I can be able to use and adapt my creative style to things that I know I enjoy making.
And
this felt like that was one of those joining together.
And it kind of changes each time you get the different yarns. I feel that way.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same stitch and the same hook, when you put different yarn to it, it feels different.
Yeah. So I'm excited, and I'm hopeful that this one turns out great. Doesn't it look great?
I love it. That is really cool.
Because I was just thinking, like, if I make this look like it's a Christmas package, all I have to do is put a bow on it.
Yeah.
Or I could put, like, one of those things that make it look like it's an ornament.
Oh, yeah.
I could also have it be one continuous strand where the one strand comes up and it looks like it's a ship. A rope knot.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. A ship knot.
For like a nautical.
Yeah.
Maybe like a nautical nursery decor.
Oh my gosh.
So you see what I'm saying? Where it's like this is very
too many ideas.
And I keep thinking of like the I keep thinking of like when I grew up and I was looking at like the teenage girl magazines, all the constant clashing textures of like the fake fur rug and then the leopard print this and that, or like the pink or the black on like the contrast. It's constant contrast, and it doesn't have to be teenage or girl, but it's like the contrast is very, very eye-catching when you're just into designing in general. Like it could just be even a modern home. I'm not talking like it has to be like a teenager thing, but it's like just that whole velvet to blanket to like fur to fake fur, because I don't even to like a wool to this to that, where it's like it's complementing each other in some way.
Texture on texture.
Yeah. So, I don't know, because I would want it all to be yarn, because it's not that it wouldn't be fun to make with fabrics, but yarn is just what I'm going to want to make it with primarily.
Right.
And so, it's one of those things where I just don't know. Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. So I'm excited because I just keep thinking of this one where it's supposed to look like Valentine's to me, like a piece of candy.
Right.
So it would be like pink, red, and white.
Right.
I don't know. So I'm excited. The only other thing I was going to mention is that when you next see my project for my mother-in-law's Ruana, I think I'm changing it up a little bit. I love that lace pattern where it's kind of reminds you of the yo-yos that I showed you the last time. If I can find it, it's in this, where it's this style. I really still like this design. And I know I haven't gotten very far, but I realized that I might lose momentum quickly.
Stopping and going all the time.
Yeah, I think that this would make a great table runner, or even like making funky textured like placemats.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it can't still be lace, because I still think this could be a really fun wearable design, but I feel like it's very versatile in its shape and design. But I realize that right now where I'm at, I want a project that I can just sit and go with. And I don't think I want to do all the stop and goes. So I think I'm going to try to find a really creative stitch where this this variegate that I have
Will be highlighted
the best. So stay tuned for that. I'm in the midst of kind of looking into ideas. And I think that we'll figure it out. I think that by next week I might possibly have another pillow and maybe have started on some hats, and this might be really on its way. I just have to figure out what I want to do.
Right.
And I just have to really figure that out. So.
And people are very interested in your cardigan too.
Yes, okay, so that's a story, and if I have 5 minutes, I realized that I want to take it to a different style. So what it is I'm still doing the corner to corner for the front 2 panels. And I still want to do the red with black and white, where it looks checkerboardy. But if I'm going to do the design that you've suggested, I realize that I don't want to say this crocheted art form, Tuscan. I'm trying to make sure I don't say this wrong. It's...
Is that long crochet needle?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. I think you spell it Tuni. Tunisian crochet. Thank you. Okay. I might have even been spelling it wrong. But yes, Tunisian crochet. I was thinking. So there was an idea that my mom had for what my back panel could be if it's going to be designed. And I really liked it. And I don't want to spoil it because there's a good possibility I still will be able to do this, because there was a designer that made what you showed.
Okay.
And it's full detail with all its colors.
Oh.
But it made a very small lap blanket, like that size.
Oh, okay.
And I thought... But that was with a standard stitch to
Right.
make it a blanket. And I was like, well, if I bring it down...
If it's just the back.
If I bring
yeah.
it down a step,
Yeah.
but I do it in a Tunisian
Right.
crocheting style,
Yeah.
I might be able to pull it off.
Right.
And so I went to go look to buy a hook at my local Joann's. Thank you, Mom, for rolling up that yarn for me. And I thought that they had them in the length that I needed, and they did not. And then my husband was actually quite funny, because he's like, are you sure that you need to go to Joann's? Is it likely that you're going to just need to buy this online? I'm like, no, they totally have it. I go, they don't have it, and then
I've never seen one
and
yet.
then I look at online, and they're cheaper online. I was like, that's just...
It's not right.
At the end of the day, it's fine, but I realized there's 2 things. Tunisian hooks can either come in solid full hooks, long hooks, where it's all made out of the one metal, or you can have it where it ends off and it kind of like with continuous knitting needles, it has one of those plastic strands that end up, that can go on for as long as you need with a ball at the end. So you can make blankets with this sort of thing as one continuous thing, and it can be up to like 22 inches, if not longer, depending on special order. And so I'm in the middle of trying to figure out which one I'm going to get, because I could invest in a set where I could get them in multiple different sizes and
Right.
have them in different styles, or I can get just the one needle in the size I know I need, in the length I know I need.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I'm not likely to use anything outside of this size, possibly, or this size will still generally work with what I'm going to use this for.
Right.
Or I can buy the whole entire set for a little bit more and know that I've invested in a possible future I might have with this.
There you go.
So it's one of those, like, what do you want to do? Because one is like only a $5 purchase that I can just get going on it. Or do I take a little bit of a pause, still make some time to figure out and invest in a little bit more to be able to have all the tools of all the sizes. So it's one of those things. So I'm going to bring it up to my husband. But yes, I'm thinking about implementing that as a means to be able to do my back so that I can do a little bit more detailed panel in a way that kind of is similar to it being a pixelated style, one stitch at a time.
So fun.
That's done in a way that's a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
Because you're working across and then back, only viewing the front.
Yeah.
So it's very much kind of like printing
Yeah.
your work.
Yeah.
So
full.
there's a true front and a true back, and I don't have to think about any other visual.
Right.
And yes, the back might be a little messy, but I can always put like a fabric over the back on the interior.
Who's ever going to see it? It's going to be on you.
I know, but what I'm saying is like to try to not have any sort of snags. I can
True.
always just put a piece of fabric on the back.
Yep.
It's going to be something that I see.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. But if that allows me to have that pixelated sort of artwork that allows for the details of what I might want to commit to for my jacket, I just have to commit to what I'm doing. And I kind of did it very spontaneously starting this craft. So you know what? We're going to just continue to ride this out and see what happens. So
Yeah. Yeah. This is all so fun and so new, and all these different ideas are just culminating.
Yeah, and
within this last month. It's just been all the creative juices have just been flowing.
And Kaniel asked for me to teach him how to crochet then too.
So both of our kids are asking to learn how to crochet, and they're only 3 and 5. 3 and 5.
Kaniel's had struggles a little bit more than Olivia. Olivia really got the motion down on how to hold everything, and he was letting go.
Yeah.
With the act of yarn and holding the work, that hand, he was having a hard time keeping up with that. But he liked pulling he likes the whole idea of the hook and the yarn being on the hook. I don't even know if he did a proper stitch, but he was really enjoying that. Where he's like, "Look at mommy, I'm doing it," and I was like, we're learning.
For him, yeah, he was.
And it's okay. So, and if he ends up continuously asking, I will. Olivia seems a little bit more like, Mommy, if we made set time aside several times a week, I think that she'd actually possibly get into a rhythm.
And if you can start them young, they have that skill along with everything else.
They do. I think for me, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to press this just because it's something that came as something I wanted to do. As a kid, I searched this one out. So for me, I want that for them as well.
But
without them also in, 20 years being like, why didn't you ever teach me that? So
But she's asking, and she's a sponge right now. She's going to absorb all that information.
Oh, yes. I'm not going to say no. I'm not trying to gatekeep it. What I'm saying is, like, I'm in this in-between of when I was a child learning this, I sought it out.
Yeah.
I have no problems with families that teach it to their kids and just, you're going to learn. It's just much more of like because I don't want it to be 20 years in the future and be like, my mom never taught me how to do this and she just knows how to do it. But because, like, it's not about that. I want her to have a good relationship with this craft, and I want both of my kids, if they want to do it, to have a good relationship with it.
Exactly.
So I want them to want to do it because that's where it gets fun.
Well, and then they can go to the craft store and actually pick out yarn for themselves.
That would be so much fun.
They love to pick it out for us, but then it would be a whole new level for them to pick it out for their own projects.
Could you imagine us all going to get yarn together and then taking them and then we have like a movie day where we it's like raining
just
or
having
snowing
having our magic wands and doing what we need to do. That's what they call them.
It'd be fun to do it with some of the other family members, the young ones too.
Yeah.
If they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Like a little time.
We're just gonna have our little crafting corner.
Yeah.
So.
Kid crafting corner. That'd be fun.
Well, on that note, we're going to give you the scripture of the day. And I think she forgot what it was, and now we're just kind of going right along with it. So it says, through love, serve one another. And that's Galatians 5:13. Through love, serve one another.
Do we know it?
We are... I have in my notes here, it just says the essentials of a happy and fulfilled life. Now, isn't that what we're just talking about here? Having a cozy little corner with our little magic wands and making things out of yarn. And having the kids just wanting to do it too.
It's been fun.
Yeah, and so we're serving them by letting them do what we're doing too.
Yeah, having them be a part of it.
It's just, it's the fun part of being a mom and a nana.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I keep trying to remember what this chapter is on, and I can't. It's been a minute. But yeah, through love, serve one another. I mean, to be fair, there are so many different spots in the Bible, whether they be commandments or beatitudes or they be Proverbs, where it talks about loving one another and serving one another and how this brings,
Putting others first.
yeah, and so it's one of those things where it's like it's talked about constantly, and I do believe it's one of the best things that it seems so obvious, but it's one of those like, and I'm not trying to belittle anybody, but like I remember when I was a teenager and I was going into learning how to work at a daycare, and one of the directors looked at me and said, they won't know how to learn to kick a ball until you teach them how to kick the ball. Just throwing the ball out there on the playing field and sitting down, it's not going to come naturally to them yet to go interact with the ball because they're so young and they might not even know how to kick it or throw it or any of that. You have to model that. And I was like, and that wasn't, and that was just kind of more of like teaching me how to engage with them, but also just even that whole, they're not going to know how. And sometimes I think a lot of us get into a thing of we assume we know how to serve others just because it seems like it's an obvious thing. Like, throw out the ball out there. The kids are instantly going to just want to engage with it because you just think kids playing outside. It's just is what it is. But sometimes when we don't know what that looks like,
right,
whether it be for the person
or if it's never been modeled to us, we don't know.
Yeah, and it just doesn't come natural. Like I said, it could just be mommy's so used to just doing this while during the movie time that when you have a little bit of a tug on your shoulder, being like, "Can I do this too?" and taking a moment to just get out of the rhythm and be like, "Yeah, I can do this with yeah, you can do this with me. Come sit on my lap. I'll get you going, and then you can keep doing this with me." Or just and that's just a simple example. I mean, there's bigger ones, and some of the needs are greater. But there is a reality where it's just like sometimes taking the time to do much more intentional acts of having someone even interrupt your time and being okay with it.
Yeah.
Being okay with the random interruptions. It doesn't mean that they have to happen all the time, but seeing them as an invitation.
Yeah.
Instead of just pushing them away. And that's not me being mean as like a mom, like just pushing your kids away, because you need your time down sometimes, and if this is what that break is, the crafting. But it's one of those like when you see a moment, maybe rethink and reframe it as what is this moment really? What could this moment be? And not every moment can be this big awe-inspiring moment. I'm not claiming that it has to, but there's times where it's like through love, serve one another. Love is a choice and it's an action, right. And sometimes people feel like they always have to feel it, and when it is something that you do, sometimes it can feel like a chore, but sometimes it's one of those things where when you really think about what this moment could be for somebody else, it could be everything for them, especially in that day. You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And even with the kids just looking to you and being like, "Can I spend some time with you?" It might take a moment to get ready to have that moment, but it's also one of those times where it's like it might impact them the most because you might be setting us. This is going to become us time. This is going to become a moment that we get to share together.
It's a teachable moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it also can teach us a lot. Sometimes the most teachable things where you're the teacher is times where you learn the most.
Yeah, that's the truth of it.
So it's just, I don't know, sometimes just really with this verse, it feels like sometimes you're along for the ride.
Right.
When it's the whole through love, serve one another. It's a joined effort. Serve one another. You're kind of along for the ride with one another.
Yeah.
But even if it's you doing it for somebody else that might not be able to participate, whether it be an elderly loved one or even a child that can't offer you the same love and support back, it's just those, what could this have meant for them that day?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you are creating a grandeur of yourself as much as
it could have changed the trajectory. Like,
A thought.
well, no, I mean, in Olivia's life, now she is learning how to do it. And so
Yeah.
it's changing her life for a different path.
Well, for me with Olivia, it's one of those, she really does enjoy independence. And setting more realistic expectations of me, giving her more room to be more independent and actively find ways of doing that.
Right.
Where I'm sitting there actively being like, I'm going to offer you this moment to learn how to do this on your own.
Right.
But not only that, but just this then becomes a mommy and me time where I'm able to spend it with you and try to encourage a creative outlet that I know will serve you if you really do try.
Right.
And then it can be something that you do. She can make her own doll clothes. She can make her own things that she'd want to wear, or make gifts for her friends, or presents. Or if she wants to make something, Mommy, can you buy the pattern? Yes, then you can make it, and we can sit down and do crafts together. And it's not only going to uplift me in having another creative buddy, but it's also one of those things where it's like, it's not just screen time. It's not just this time. It also offers her other outlets to do with her time, and it's good fine motor skills, and it makes her brain think and have to problem solve, and it's good math, and it's good geometry, and it's good
all the way
puzzle
around.
solving,
Yeah.
and it's just, it benefits. It's a good exercise for the brain. It's kind of like a Sudoku puzzle. Like we don't think about it that way, but sometimes crafts can be some of the best brain exercises that we willfully do ourselves. We kind of see this ball of yarn and we're like, what can this become?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, without us, it won't be anything. And it could, but all of a sudden we could make it into a scarf, a hat, a toy, whatever it could become. But it's not going to do that. It's a problem that we solve.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly it. We make it something else.
Yes, so it's just fun, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Me too.
I really do think that when Daniel gets older, he's going to enjoy it as well. He's very creative. He's very creatively inclined. Olivia does seem determined to learn. Like, she's done it only once, but when I mentioned it again, I said, we can start doing this more regularly if you want to. And her just being like, we can? Like, it was like, yes, we could start making it like certain days of the week that after you get home from school and you've had your snack, we can go take some time out where it's just you and me time, and we just work on something together. So small projects. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, I love that.
That's good. Yeah.
So, well, this episode ended up being a little bit longer than we were thinking, but it was good. It feels like it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
And we're excited to be saying this, but hi to some of our new subscribers.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's just passing us by, regardless of whether you subscribe or not, if you've made it to the end, thank you, and I hope you have enjoyed it. We really just like these downtime talk, like it's kind of like a fellowship video styles. We are talking about doing different types of videos, seeing if we can branch out to different types of styles, or maybe even challenges where we share like maybe how long we can crochet for a time, or maybe kind of like a collage of how we've put things together. But this is really kind of what our channel is. It's been 114 episodes of us just spending time with you, and we hope that you enjoyed it. So
like, subscribe, tell your friends.
So we hope to see you next week, and hope that you would like to see where we're at with our projects then. Please feel free to comment down below. We also have an email in the description bar if you want to message us
privately.
So feel free, and as always, we'll see you next time, and we hope that you stitch your way
to mental health.